All right. I'm just making sure my Instagram is going live also. There we go. All right. So this is the first time I'm doing this. This is going to be Heart-Centered Fridays with your host, Sonia Achara, basically. And so what I'm going to be doing is every Friday, I'm going to go live on all of these. I'm basically on StreamYard. And I have that posted on my Facebook that basically the URL in order to join me if you wanted to join me and ask questions. If not, this will be up every Friday and you'll get to listen to it while it's live, and it'll be saved to the actual media as well. And so right now I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at the same time. Technology. I wasn't always that great, but I'm getting better. All right. So I just wanted to welcome you guys and basically share my story a little bit and my intentions for this actual live stream video. So a brief story about me, for those of you that don't know who I am. I was actually in the Marine Corps for 14 years. I got out as a gunnery sergeant, which is a pretty well-esteemed rank. A lot of people shoot for that rank, and it's very respected in the Marine Corps. And so, I had my ups and downs in the Marine Corps. I definitely learned a lot of lessons, and it made me who I am today. So I look back at all of it, even the hard times were for a purpose. So also don't mind the airplanes. I live close to an airport. So occasionally there might be an airplane that goes by every now and then. So just to get more into my story, I was in the Marine Corps for 14 years. I had a lot of ups and downs. A lot of things happened. I went through all the different ups and downs, basically, victim mentality as far as like blaming certain things. When I was on recruiting duty, I actually started bodybuilding while I was in the Marine Corps. And I did really well bodybuilding. That was my first time really encountering like universal laws and law of attraction. And I didn't really understand it that well at the time, but I did start to see that the more I focused on bodybuilding, the more things started coming to me that was going to get me to my goals, and people as well. And so I was led to different books like The Secret. I read Synchronicities by Jacob Jorowski, and just different things that kind of led me on my path. I knew about the universal laws. That was when I really started reading about universal laws, but I didn't really understand them that well. I just kind of knew a little bit about what the law of attraction was. But after my spiritual awakening, which happened this past January, I literally was shown so many different things in my spiritual awakening. And since then, I've just had downloads of information as well as been led to certain information. And now I understand the universal laws really well. I understand sacred geometry pretty well. And so that kind of led me to this year I've been consciously dating, and I've also been in the realm of conscious motherhood. I do have a toddler that's 3 years old. And so I'm also in a master's program currently that is for consciousness, psychology, and transformational leadership. So that is why all this is coming together because of the inner work that I've done on myself this year. And so I have my notes right here. So dating is actually one of the most powerful mirrors for leadership. How you show up in love reflects how you lead your life. So my intention for this space is for self-discovery, for clarity, and for empowerment. So here's a little bit about the old paradigm versus the new paradigm. So the old paradigm of dating is basically chasing folding just to connect, scarcity, talking about, there's not enough good men or women out there nowadays. All of that is like scarcity mindset. Ignoring red flags. So that is all old paradigm stuff. And I can honestly say that in my last relationship with my son's father, I did a lot of old paradigm type stuff. Like there were red flags that I just ignored, those spidey senses that you get inside. Your body has intelligence, and your body is trying to tell you, it's trying to guide you. So the bad feelings you get is there for a reason. And so this is actually getting to know yourself better in a way that you stop betraying yourself. I had to learn a very hard lesson in not betraying myself, because my last relationship, I basically lost myself in that relationship. And I take full responsibility for that. That was my fault. And I allowed it to happen, basically. And so just continuing to talk on the old paradigm, chasing. Women are not supposed to chase. And I know a lot of us do that because we might have grown up a certain way to where we basically have this fear of abandonment. And I know I had that for the longest time in my life. It was a fear of abandonment. You get this anxiety anytime somebody gets mad at you, and you don't want to lose that person. So you start getting into that like chasing mode. That is not the right way to be, because according to the law of polarity, and this is law, according to the law of polarity, anytime a woman is chasing, basically that's going to push the man away, because it's just law. It's just how it works. And I know you guys have seen this happen. So folding just to connect. So a lot of us, men and women, will fold just to get that bit of connection, whatever it is. Even men that sleep around a lot, like you're folding on what you want, because everybody wants love. They just have been hurt, especially men. Men have been hurt. Men are actually more sensitive than women, but they're basically conditioned not to show their sensitivity, which is also old paradigm type of stuff as well. So old paradigm men being told that they can't, feel their feelings, and they can't show their feelings. Like that's not going into the new paradigm, because we're actually teaching our boys to name their emotions. This is something I've been teaching my son. Name your emotions, and better ways to handle your emotions, but that it's okay to feel your emotions. These are things that men have not been taught, because it's the old paradigm where we were in this fear mode. But that's what, I say they, everyone's like, who's they? But basically the people, the entities that kind of created this dualistic mentality in the world. It was put here for a reason. So we all came to Earth because we needed to learn certain lessons for our soul's expansion. Some of us don't realize this. Some of us are still kind of in sleeping mode. We're still in our subconscious minds. But as we start to awaken and become more conscious, which is the goal, more and more people are becoming conscious and aware of the things that are going on. I've become more conscious of my subconscious, basically the subconscious patterns I had to, because I was slapped in the face with a narcissistic relationship. I had a narcissistic boss and a best friend who had narcissistic traits as well. And I didn't even realize this until I woke up to that and saw it for what it was. And so I don't like saying the word narcissist anymore either, though, because that is the illusion of separation. But it's here for a reason. And it's here for us to transcend, not to. And I was in the victim mode for a while. There was a time where I was in the victim mode, and I was talking about what he was doing to me and all the things he did to me. And he did do those things, and I can acknowledge those things. But when you start to tell that story over and over, it gets worse and worse in your life. And those of you that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So once I switched, I went through my spiritual awakening and stopped talking about him and started focusing on myself and what my goals were. I stopped thinking about him completely, really. And that was when the energy shifted. So so that is like, that's old paradigm type stuff. Everything is energy. Everything is made out of energy, and we all come from the same energy source. That's why the universal laws are true. They are law. Like, if you actually start to follow it and learn it and see how it has played out in your life, you'll see that it's real. And I've seen this numerous times, enough to where I've spent this whole year just studying universal law, energy, because that's what it is. That's what it's about. It's about energy manipulation, not manipulation as in like manipulating somebody for the bad, but you do have to learn how to manipulate energy for your highest good and the highest good of all, in order to have a better life. So, just to go into the new paradigm. So, the new paradigm is resonance. So, we can all agree that you might have dated people who just weren't, they just didn't align with you. And that's okay. A lot of people take it as, they might take rejection harshly, men or women, and they might take rejection harshly, but it's not about you. So don't ever take it like it's rejection. You have to, I started telling myself this year, if it's not him, it's somebody better, because they don't align. If they don't align, then there is somebody who will, because we're in a multiverse, whether you want to believe it or not. There is infinite possibilities. And so your person is out there. You just have to believe it. We've been in this fear mentality for too long, and that's why a lot of people haven't been able to get out of that. And so the new paradigm, so resonance is part of the new paradigm. Self-leadership, leading yourself and knowing yourself, having boundaries, as being magnetic. So actually, as a woman, I never realized this because I was never taught this. But when you have boundaries, you become more magnetic. And I've been seeing this in real time throughout my dating in the last year. Wholeness comes first. So anytime you're starting to change yourself for somebody else, you're not coming from a whole place. So I did that in my last relationship. I changed completely who I was. When the man met me, I was like bodybuilding. I had my whole team. I was always in the gym working out. And then as we got together, I got pregnant and had a baby. I completely lost myself. Like, I still wanted to go work out. I still wanted to go do things like that. But I was thinking too deep into what I was feeling in him, which now that I look back at it, he was acting the way he was acting because of what was inside of me. And so he had no choice but to act that way. And here's the thing, people do have choices. But according to the law of polarity, when you are not being true to yourself and whole within yourself, that person is going to basically demagnetize from you. They're not going to be attracted to you anymore. Just think about it. Anytime somebody met you and they fell in love with you, was it because you were actually in a place of more wholeness, even if you weren't all the way whole? Because I will say that when I first met him, I was doing what I wanted to do, but I was also masking the subconscious. Like, I kept myself so busy that I didn't want to be I didn't want to be by myself. So I would just keep myself so busy that I didn't want to be with myself. But yourself is the most important person that you need to be with and you need to get to know, because the more you actually get to know yourself and what you actually want, that's when you're going to start to attract better people and better things into your life. So you just have to know what it is that you want, because that's part of sacred geometry. So sacred geometry is in all of life. You have a triangle. When it comes to dating, it's basically one side of the triangle is what you desire in a person. So you have to know what you want. And then the other side of the triangle is your boundaries. So you have to keep your standards. You have to keep your standards, or else the universe is just going to keep bringing you what you accept. So, and even men too. Like, yes, so men, the masculine is supposed to chase. They're supposed to go after what they value, but you have to do it with discernment. You can't do it out of a wound. So if you're dating to get energy from a person and get love from a person, like, you're not doing it from wholeness. You're dating from lack. And that's where the triangle starts to collapse, basically. And so the bottom of the triangle is clarity. And you get clarity the more and more that you get to know yourself. Because I have seen this, the more I've gotten to know myself. I've done a lot of journaling. I've done a lot of investing in a mentor that has been able to see my subconscious wounds. So I'm able to get to this point now where I can help others as well. And so the talking point: when we lead with fear, we shrink to be chosen. When we lead with heart, we attract by being fully ourselves. So when you're fully yourself, you don't have to hide yourself. When you start to date somebody and you are fully yourself, um, and it's okay if people don't align. If people fall away naturally, that's fine. There is somebody that's going to align. You just have to tell the universe what it is that you want, and by telling the universe is not accepting what you don't want. So I've had to do this myself. I started seeing myself and how, when it came to consciously dating, I started actually seeing the things I was doing that I used to do, and I didn't realize it was unconscious. But basically, I would romanticize, and I know a lot of women do this. I would romanticize this man for his highest potential, but you're not staying in the moment of where this person is at currently. And men might do this too. I know some men actually romanticize as well, and they see people in their highest potential. That's how men get with narcissistic women, is because you're seeing this woman in her highest potential, but you're not staying in the present moment to see where they're at now. And so that's one thing I had to learn, as far as leading with heart, getting to know myself and what I really want in a person and writing those down. And then basically, yeah, so basically figuring out what it is that I actually really want in a person, and then keeping those standards. So think about your last relationship. Was it more of the old paradigm, or was it the new paradigm? Statistics are probably going to say that most people are in the old paradigm, have been in the old paradigm, and still are in the old paradigm. And that is why, I had to get out of that last relationship, and I had to find myself. And I just so happened to become more consciously aware of my subconscious patterns, and have been able to go on my healing journey. I don't want to call it a healing journey necessarily, because we're not broken. We don't need fixing. We basically came here to learn this. We came here to learn how to, break free of our subconscious and become conscious. So, and it's basically all for our soul's expansion. So don't think that you're ever doing anything wrong. You're not late. Wherever you are now is where you can start from. So let's talk about the energetics of attraction. So attraction isn't about games or tricks. It's not about any of that. I used to think it was a game, because there was a point in my life where I was trying to play the game and get men to be attracted to me, and it worked, but it was only because the polarity was right. And the thing is, I thought it was working because I was getting dudes to like fall for me, just by not falling for them first. And I was playing a game. So I never actually got into a relationship because of those. And basically, the feminine is supposed to be the magnetism, the openness, and the receiving. And all of us have masculine and feminine energy within us. All of us do. We just have, most of us have a wounded masculine and feminine, depending on what side you're on. If you're overly controlling, you're more in your masculine. If you're overly giving, you're in your feminine. And so masculine energy is supposed to be the direction, the structure, and the follow through. So I've been, as far as my dating experience goes, I've been making sure in the last year to stay in my feminine energy. And I'm still learning as well, because I was never taught how to be in my feminine energy. I was in my masculine energy for the longest time, in my whole life, basically in dating, in my career. And it could have gone so much better for me if I was able to be in my feminine energy. I just didn't know, but all of it happened for a reason, and to basically learn what I know now. And I'm still learning every day. There's never a time that anybody should say that they've learned, that they know it all in anything, because there's infinite knowledge out there. So you should always be learning, and you should be a constant student, or else you're going to keep having to come back to earth school. Every time you pass, you're going to have to keep coming back to learn the lessons that you weren't able to learn while you were here. So just to share some of my dating examples from this year and staying in my feminine energy, I realized, I can't be the one to chase. I have to allow a man to step up into his leadership and come after me. And if they're not doing that, then they're in their feminine energy, or they're just not attracted to me, and that's okay. We have to start to learn that it's not rejection, it's resonance. So if somebody doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you just need to keep looking. And one thing I've been telling myself this whole year is basically, if it's not him, it's somebody better, because the right man is going to come after me, and not overly come after me, because I have had that too, where I've had guys call me too much, and they are coming from a place of lack. They're wanting to take energy from me, and I can feel it now. So this is about energy and feeling the energy. And so then there's the opposite. There's the men that aren't, they're not being consistent, and that's where they're at, and that's okay. So they end up falling away naturally. So the right man is actually going to, we're always a work in progress. So even when we find somebody and get into a relationship, you guys are mirrors for each other. So you're going to start to bring up your childhood wounds in each other. And the goal is to be able to have that safe container so that you both can grow, and that you both know that your triggers are your own. And I used to think he was triggering me. My ex used to be triggering me on purpose. I was like, I feel like you're trying to press my buttons on purpose. But he wasn't doing it on purpose. He was showing me what I needed to, the universe was basically showing me what I needed to heal. And so I can talk about him all I want, but there was my part that played in that. And that was basically my wounds, our vibration that's within us. That's why words have to match actions, because when words don't match actions, your actions are what shows your true vibration. And so the vibration and the frequency that comes within you, it just means, like, if you're in a lack frequency, you're not in your heart space. You're operating most likely from fear. And so that's some of my examples. So you don't attract what you want to attract, you attract what you are being. So if you are not being the person that you want, then you're never going to attract that person. So you have to actually step into and embody that person that you actually want. And it takes time. It really does, because You have to realize that people call it like an ego death, but it's not necessarily about killing off your ego. It's actually about having a different relationship with the negative parts of you. Um, people that people that say things are bad or negative are not necessarily, it's not the thing. It's not bad. So basically, when you actually accept the bad and negative parts of yourself, you can create amazing things for yourself. And so when you start to have doubts in yourself, you actually show love to that part of you, and you even have like a dialogue with it. This is something I've learned in my master's program of consciousness, is dialoguing with your, basically with your self-doubt or with your fear, whatever it is. You want to talk to it and just be like, hey, I see you, self-doubt. And basically that's our brain's way of protecting us, because that's what it's meant to do. Our brain is supposed to protect us, but our heart is actually what's coming, it's talking from our soul. So how many times have you actually sat with yourself and asked your heart the questions? Because your mind is going to tell you lies. Your mind tells you all the things that you've been told since you were a child that aren't even yours, like your parents, teachers, even ancestral trauma that's actually passed through your DNA. That comes up in you. So yes, my generation is the generational curse breakers. We are here to break the ancestral curses, and it's a hard job, but we can do it. And I believe in you guys. If I can do it, you can do it. So here's a practice that you can do: journal or reflect on what energy you have been putting out. So basically write in a journal like, hey, what energy have I actually been putting out? And be honest with yourself, because that's the only way to grow. You have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself the right questions, because the quantum field is basically the field that you can tap into to get information. It's like a cloud. You know how there's clouds for technology? Our brains literally, and science shows this, our brains literally have a cloud that we can tune into. It's all about what frequency you're at, and you're able to actually tune into the frequency of the 0 point field. It takes actually sitting with yourself and being silent, or even pausing before you respond to somebody, so you can respond with a better response. Those responses, when you actually pause, come from the 0 point field. So we're always channeling source energy when we actually like calm ourselves to listen. Even this year, there's been times, and I know that we're kind of getting away from the dating part, but there's been times where I've gotten myself into a situation where I was like, shit, how am I going to get out of this? And I had to calm myself down and just ask myself, okay, how am I going to get out of this situation? And then it literally came to me. The answer came to me. And this happened to me numerous times this year, because I've been doing the inner work and doing a lot of journaling, a lot of feeling my emotions that I never felt throughout my life. That's part of it. Feeling into the emotions that you always bypassed. There was a lot in my childhood that I bypassed, and I had a mother who had narcissistic traits. And that's why later on, I was seeing the narcissistic traits, and it had to hit me with a sledgehammer before I actually saw it and started looking within myself to change it. So, all right. So next topic, boundaries as magnetism. So boundaries aren't walls; they are clarity. Healthy boundaries keep you from losing yourself. And I never even knew what boundaries were. I had to learn that through this narcissistic relationship. And here's the thing, they do keep testing you. They'll keep testing you, especially if you have a child with the person. They keep testing you. But what I've seen is that I am more and more energetically sovereign, because his tests don't work anymore. And he's able to, he takes our son and he spends time with him. And I don't have any ill will towards him. And This man did a lot of things. Like, I have friends that are like, oh my God, like, I don't know why you're not, like, I don't know how you can be this calm around him. And I'm just like, it's just the work that I've done. I've literally transcended the narcissist. And I'm writing a book on that right now. So that is going to come out. I'm actually going to propose it to Hay House, which is one of the biggest self-help publishing companies out there. So look out for that in the future if you've ever been in a narcissistic relationship, because trust me, that relationship was here to actually teach you the biggest lesson that you'll learn for your soul's evolution. And it's actually a good thing. I actually thank it's crazy because I actually thank him now, because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for like the craziness that he put me through. So um let's see. So I don't chase, I value mutual effort. So mutual effort is different in men and women when it comes to look up the law of gender. The law of gender and the law of polarity. Those are the two things that will actually teach you how to be in life, in relationships, and it'll change your life. So every time you honor a boundary, you affirm your worth, and the universe listens. So I've realized that anytime I've actually set a boundary in the whole past year, and didn't care if I was going to lose somebody, you just have to have no attachment. You have to be true to yourself, speak your truth. And yeah, sometimes you don't always have to speak your truth to everybody. Sometimes it's best to just say it to yourself, but saying it out loud of how you really felt or writing it down is necessary in order to transcend something. So you need to either say it out loud about how you really felt, name it, whatever, whether it was like anger, sadness, disappointment, any of those feelings, like you need to acknowledge it, say it out loud or write it down, and then actually say what you desire to happen. Because if you've been through a lot of different things in your life, you know what you like and what you don't like. You just have to get more clear on it so that the universe can start sending you there. The universe is going to test you. You're going to get tests. And there's a lot of people that go through spiritual awakenings that kind of seclude themselves, which you do have to seclude yourself for a certain amount of time to get to know yourself. But you start going away from the real work, because the real work is being around people and feeling the triggers and feeling the anger, the sadness, the disappointment, and allowing yourself to actually feel it in order to move through it properly and not bypass it. Because you can create so much in your life positive by actually feeling your emotions. And I've personally seen that this year. Like, I've quantum leaped all year because I've been able to learn how to feel my feelings in the moment and move through them how they're supposed to. And it's not lingering, because I actually moved through it. Like, people get into depression and things like that because they're not allowing themselves to feel it and move through it properly. And sometimes you need to, if you're angry, sometimes you need to scream into a pillow or scream out somewhere where people can't hear you. Or sometimes you might need to go, hit something, but set the intention that you're actually moving through your anger by doing that. You have to set intentions. So, what is one boundary you've compromised in dating before? Because I know I had a lot. I changed a lot of myself just to have somebody close, but I just ended up being with somebody where I felt the most alone. And that was something I didn't realize I had to transcend until after we broke up and all that. But now that I've transcended it, it's not like I'm meant to get back with that person, because what happens is when you change, that person could change. There is the possibility that that person could change and do a 180 because of your energy, but it's not, you can't have an attachment to that. So you have to just be open, have your heart open. So there's a difference between having walls and having a boundary. So having a boundary, you can actually still have your heart open, but you're just setting your standards. So if you actually have walls to where you're closing off to people, then you're not going to find, you're basically closing off to the person that is going to treat you good. So there's that prompt. So go ahead and think about that for a bit. What is one boundary you've compromised in dating before? Think about that, and you can write it down in your own journal or whatever you need to do. So next topic, heart-centered leadership in love. So leading yourself is leading in love. Speak from the heart, not from fear. And so being in conscious dating builds skills that apply in leadership roles also. So if you're consciously dating, you can actually use a lot of these skills in your work life as well. If there's somebody that triggers you at work, there's a reason for that. Your triggers are yours to transcend. So you have to, like I said, either speak it out loud or write it down, the things that you felt when this person did these things, and then write down what you would actually prefer this person or somebody to treat you. So, and you have to set boundaries with people, even if it's your boss. Like, don't allow your fear of losing a job, like, don't allow somebody to treat you like shit because you fear losing a job, because you fear losing your partner. Because here's the thing, if you're loving out of fear, that's not true love anyway. And if you're loving out of fear, you're just blocking yourself from the true blessings. So even if you speak your truth and you get fired, I promise you there's going to be something better that opens the door. That's just how the universe works. Once you actually stand up for yourself and what you want, it's about not having that fear. Even if you have kids, I'm a single mother, so I literally quit my job and went into trusting myself and knowing that if I do my passion, it's going to work out because the universe has my back. And the universe has had my back all year long, and I've trusted more and more. So the more you trust, the more you start to see it unfold in your life, in your relationships, in your friendships, and in your work. Like, now I am the happiest I've ever been and most whole I've ever felt in my whole entire life. And that's because I know myself now, I trust myself, and I trust the universe to have my back. Source, which is, the creator of all things. So that's just how it works. Study the laws of the universe. I promise you, the laws of the universe are the true law. All right. So heart-centered dating isn't about controlling outcomes. It's about embodying love so you never abandon yourself. So yes, control, anything that you're doing out of control is fear-based. So if you're trying to control somebody, if you're trying to control outcomes, that's fear-based. So the goal is to, and I'm still learning too. I now I'm aware and I'm conscious of things that are fear-based versus heart-based, and I'm able to catch myself when I'm starting to think or do something out of fear. Then I'm like, oh wait, that's fear. I affirm to myself that I am only making decisions out of love and not out of fear. And everything has come together in my life. Basically, like, I'm able to do what I'm passionate about now. I'm able to date better and better people. Like, better and better people are coming to my field. And the only reason I'm still single is because I know that the person that has every single quality I want. And it's not about having an attachment to the person. You can't have an attachment to who or when. You basically have to know that that person that has all those qualities is out there, and you just keep holding your standard until that person comes along, because they will. And you just have to keep going, doing things that you're passionate about. Like for me, I love dancing, and I haven't danced for the longest time. And I started dancing. I started taking salsa lessons, and I'm starting to feel more and more magnetic because I'm doing the things that I love. And so that's another thing. There was a guy that, he was like, "Oh, I don't do shit like that," or whatever. So, okay, you're not aligned with me. Next. So it's that easy. It starts to get that easy when you see it from a different perspective. You start looking at dating from a higher perspective, and don't get emotional. Don't get you stop getting emotional about every experience you have, and you just see it as data, basically. Like, okay, this person is this, and that. Okay, we don't align. Next. That's that. And I'm going to be honest, like, if you're having sex with somebody and they're not giving you everything that you want, like a relationship, you are telling the universe that this is what you want. So, yes, you do have to abstain from sex until you find what it is that you want. And I know that's hard. It was hard for me for a while, because when you still have subconscious patterns, that your wounds that you're actually operating from, you want any type of connection, any form of short connection, whether it's like a short little form of intimacy and sex. And this is not to judge anybody. I don't judge anybody at all for having sex. Like, do what you want to do, but I'm just telling you from my experience, like, this is what, if you really want, true love, you actually have to abstain until you find that person. It's not about abstaining till marriage. No, I'm not religious. I don't claim religion at all. But you do have to abstain, because it's part of not accepting less than what you deserve. So, ladies, stop accepting the breadcrumbs, because here's the thing. A lot of these men aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but ladies, you are the gift. We were taught to shrink. We were taught to, just be a lady, just be the submissive one. But no, that's not what we're supposed to be. We're actually supposed to be able to bring our true essence out. And when we do, we actually really become magnetic. This is energy. This is how energy works. So let's see. This is how energy works. All right. So I'm coming to the close of my little workshop. And so I do have a question and an answer portion for any of you that want to jump on next time. If you want to jump on next time, you just have to join the StreamYard link, and I could add you in and answer whatever questions that come up. So I'm going to be doing it from StreamYard, because I'm able to go live on 3 platforms at once. And so this is what I'm going to do every Friday. Talk about different, heart-centered Fridays is what I'm going to call it. So we can talk about dating, relationships, business, whatever it is in your life that you feel you've been running on subconscious patterns and you don't know how to get out of it. So that's what I'm here for. Just to recap the things that we talked about. So we talked about the old paradigm versus the new paradigm in dating. And this is real. This is happening right now, because we are actually moving into a new paradigm era. It's taking a little bit of time, because, generations have to come into play. This is the generation, like I said, my generation is the generational curse breakers. So a lot of us are, our wounds, our subconscious wounds from childhood are coming up, and not even wounds that are ours, our ancestors' wounds as well. And so they're coming up now, because we're the ones that need to break them. We need to transcend them. And there's ways to be able to do that. And I've been doing that. Like, I'm literally, all I've focused on is my inner work and my shadow work, if you want to call it that. I've been learning energy. I've been learning the universal laws. I've been learning the just how the universe works. So sacred geometry as well. So that's another thing I've been learning a lot about, and I'm still learning more and more every day. So your energy determines attraction. So there's a lot of things that we do. I remember there was a time in my life, it was before my son's father came along. It was about 10 years of me just being single, but I had little situationships here and there, because I would be like, okay, why is it that either a guy really likes me more than I like him, or I like a guy more than he likes me? And that's the law of polarity. If I started to like a guy more than he liked me, I would be the one chasing, and that doesn't work when it comes to polarity. And then same thing for men. If a man is chasing too much, the men are supposed to chase, but they're supposed to chase out of clarity, not out of lack. And so when the men are chasing out of a place of lack or wounding, then that is gonna, like, a woman is not going to be attracted to that. And so I've learned the hard way, but I used to just that used to be my question, and I was so frustrated. I did not know why. I was like, why the heck? I was like, and I used to always go back to like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? But that was the wrong way to think. It's not anything wrong with me. I was telling myself the wrong things. Like, the point is to be able to know that it's not about you, and to reframe and rewire your brain, because that's possible. Science shows that we can rewire our brain. I actually learned a lot from Joe Dispenza, who's a neuroscientist, and he's done so many tests to where he's like huge now. He does like these retreats, and people are like life changed after these retreats. So shoot, my life changed after just listening to one of his YouTube meditations. So let's see. So we talked about boundaries and your own self-leadership. And basically, if you want to connect deeper with me, I am that safe space and the no judgment zone for you. Trust me, I've been through it all, and I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to be that safe space and actually help you through your subconscious patterns and your blocks. What you can do is you can either message me, DM me to book a free clarity call with me, or you can just join my next live. I'm going to do this every Friday. Or even join my paid masterclass. I'm going to be working on a masterclass, and I also have a retreat lined up for the future. That's going to be September of 2026. So the more you guys tune in, and maybe you guys will feel called to actually join the retreat, because that's going to be life-changing in itself. All right. So remember, for my closing statement, is basically to remember the most important relationship that you'll ever have is the one that you have with yourself. So from there, once you have a good relationship with yourself, you're able to actually be happy and sit with yourself. Like, I literally have conversations with myself all the time now, and I journal with myself. I ask myself the tough questions, because that's how you actually begin to love yourself and become more magnetic. And a healthy relationship is actually two people that it doesn't even have to be a man and a woman, because we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. But it's basically two healthy people that come together and are able to use each other as mirrors to transcend their own subconscious wounds. They just need that safe container to be able to feel their true feelings and be honest with each other, and be able to grow together from that. That's when you're actually able to have a legacy type of relationship with somebody. And so right now we're going through that phase where a lot of people are going through breakups and different things like that because you're being forced by the universe to look at your subconscious wounds. So the takeaway is to start looking at those wounds and sitting with them and love them. You have to love every part of yourself, even the negative parts, the parts you're ashamed of, the parts that you feel guilty about, the parts that you fear, all the doubts that come up within you, all your insecurities. You have to look at those, acknowledge them, accept them, and love them. And basically loving them is being able to speak with them within yourself, talk to yourself, and reassure yourself, like, look, I understand that you have these doubts or these fears, and those came from childhood, but once you actually look at them and you work through them, you're able to transcend them. So don't forget, the most important relationship that you'll have is the relationship you have with yourself. And then love flows from all directions. You'll be surprised. So I'm going to end this for tonight, and I'll catch you guys next Friday.